Our guest today is a doctor of chiropractic, passionate weightlifter, author, serial entrepreneur, and self-made multi-millionaire. Fleeing the bombs of the Saddam regime, he moved with his mum to the USA when he was just 11. Unable to speak English and bullied for being different, he made a plan for success and stuck to it, building his business franchise and helping people to achieve their goals and get in the best shape of their lives. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Sam Bakhtiar, CEO and founder of the Camp franchise and 1% Nutrition, to the Escape Your Limits podcast. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you for having me.
When I drove up here, I kind of felt as I was in England. It was very green. We're in the countryside. And there was rain and fog.
Yeah.
But we're not, are we? We're not in England.
No, we're in Southern California, man. Very rare for us to get this kind of weather.
Really? Yeah. And are we on a golf course? Is that
yes,
right?
we're on a golf course, yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful house. So thanks for inviting me here.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure. It's my honor.
So you weren't always from Southern California and living in a great big mansion, were you?
No, not at all, man. Not at all.
Where were you originally?
I'm Iranian. I was born in Iran. And I was there till I was 11 years old.
Right.
So I'm a Persian American. I came here to the United States when I was 11.
Right.
Yeah.
And what was kind of, to give people a bit of context, what was it like in Iran, sort of, at that time?
Well, it was great until we started getting attacked by Saddam Hussein.
Right.
I remember being 3 years old. For the first time, I heard sirens and I heard bombs, and everybody starts running to the basement. And next thing you know, we have radio announcement that we're under attack and there's a war. And then from age 3 to 11, pretty much I heard that every night, where you feel, you hear planes fly over, dropping bombs, and you see anti-air missiles going up and chaos, and it was crazy. It was crazy seeing it. I mean, it was like Disneyland, but it was real war. When you look at the sky, it looked like fireworks, but it wasn't fireworks.
And I guess between 3 and 11, then, that was most of your upbringing. Was that almost, I guess, looking back, was that almost normal to have that around you?
Yeah, I mean, after a while, you were like, oh, this is what it is. You know what I mean? And you feel like that was normal. That's the way of life, and and that's what it is.
Right.
It's crazy when you grow up. That's your new environment.
Yeah, and was that happening? So was the bombings very close to where you was actually living?
Very close, actually. I mean, let me tell you why. Because we lived pretty much about 2 miles away from the prime minister of the country. So when they were targeting him, and we were 2 miles away. Jeez. So especially in our area, it was crazy. It was bombing. It was a lot of noise, and I mean, we were literally going to our neighborhood. You see anti-air missiles on the roof of the homes.
So when you used to play out then, or did you play out as a kid outside and do stuff?
It's funny. We actually did. We actually did. I mean, you think it's crazy. Most of the attacks happens at night. I mean, I guess the planes attack at night, the cities at night, and so during the day I didn't hear too much stuff, but at night, boy, it was on.
Yeah, that's incredible, really.
Right.
Did that must have left some sort of, I guess, scars on you, or was it, was it, how did that kind of affect you at that age?
It's so funny, I've been asked that question before, and I'm looking back, I'm like, what kind of scars, what did that leave me behind? And I can't think of one. Maybe there are some deep-rooted scars somewhere, you know what I mean? But I can't right now, it's like I don't have any PTSD that I don't think of or anything. I just remember like boom, 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 boom. Like, are we gonna get bombed down or not? But maybe I was too, young or whatever to realize, anything else. But not that I know of.
So I guess, maybe because of your age, you didn't. I suppose any night you could have just been taken out.
Yes.
Literally.
Yes. I've never seen a bomb drop in any of our neighborhood. So I never physically seen it, but I've heard it. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe if I would have seen some family or friends blow up, it's been a whole different story. If you talk to another countryman, you would probably hear a different story.
Yeah. So how did you go from being in that situation a long way from where you are today? How did you escape that situation?
Well, so they were recruiting, boys at 11 to go to the military. At 11 years old, and my mom, I was the only child. Mom said, I don't want my son to die, because some men have egos and all that kind of stuff. So we packed up, we came to the United States. We moved to the United States with one luggage and $500 in our name.
Was it easy to get out of the country at that time?
It was not. It was not easy. They don't. So we couldn't come to the United States directly. So we went to France as refugees of war. We went to France, and then when we get there, we applied to be refugees of war. And then we stayed in France for a year, and then we came to America as refugees of war.
Right. And so do you remember kind of arriving here and what it was like when did you come on a plane or a boat or something?
Well, yeah, I remember like it was yesterday. So when we were coming here, I was doing my research on America. Everybody says America. Oh, America is great. So I was, watching American shows like Dallas and Dynasty. I'm old, so that was about, people who are young, like, what is that? But it was shows like Dallas, Dynasty, and the A-Team back then. I was looking, I'm like, oh my God, man, remember that? So I was looking at those shows and I was like, man, everybody looks like they're millionaires in America, and everybody has, Olympic-sized swimming pools and, Cadillacs and mansions and all that kind of stuff. But, unfortunately, nobody showed the bad parts of America on TV or daytime shows. So I moved to a very, very blue-collar, lower to middle class town called Sharon in the state of Pennsylvania. Sharon is 45 minutes north of Pittsburgh. It's about 15, 20 minutes from Youngstown, Ohio. And just to give you perspective, Youngstown has always been like top 10 murder per capita, in the country. So it was a very nice, when I came to the United States, my uncle picked us up from the airport, and we came right to his store. I mean, he did what most Middle Easterners do when they come to America, to have a convenience store in the hood, and that's what happened.
Wow. And how old were you? You
I was 11
years old.
Yeah, 11 years old, yeah. Right.
And what was it, what was your impression of that? How did you feel when you was there? Did you miss back home, or
I was shocked. I was shocked. I mean, remember, we're in the middle of nowhere, America, in a very depressed area. Even more depressed because that was 1985, where a lot of the steel mills have shut down in town. That was in the 70s. The steel mills were booming, and they just shut down. And it was the middle of crack cocaine epidemic. And my uncle had a convenience store in the worst area, in the worst street. It's called Idaho Street in Sharon. And to this day, it's not even paved. It's brick road. It's a brick road. And there's signs out there that says no loitering or you get arrested. So you can't even hang out on the street, So you look outside the convenience store. Literally, there's pimps, hoes and prostitutes and drug dealers, And so I've learned, I worked in that environment.
Right. And what was school like? Because you didn't speak much English, is that right?
I didn't speak English. I didn't have the same clothes as everybody. I had a different haircut, different shoes, a unibrow going in, So, 11 years old is a pretty sensitive age. It's a preteens, and I come to a new country. It was a culture shock. And I come to go to enroll in 7th grade. Man, it was just like Moses parting the Red Sea. When I came in there, there was black people, and there was white people, and there was Sam. And like, what the hell is that? And what are you? Like, what is your shoes? Oh my God, look at your socks. Like, so it was tough. It's tough. Kids can be pretty cruel. You're talking about bullying and being made fun of and all that. Been there, done that. You know what I mean? So, so I went to try to enroll in 7th grade, and I wanted to play football. And the guidance counselor said, football. I'm like, my English is not that good, but I know the foot in the ball. I know what a foot in the ball is. I'm like, no, football. They're like, no, that's called soccer, and we don't have a soccer team, So now I'm more devastated because I grew up playing soccer all my life.
Yeah.
And now I'm in a new country, no language, no friends, don't fit in, and don't have a sport. So it was tough.
Yeah. I bet. And so when did it kind of turn around, and when did you, when you were younger, when did you find a group of friends or some interests? How did you, because it sounds like it must have been pretty difficult coming from a country like it was, being dropped in somewhere else, and not standing out, not having any friends or anyone like that. How did you,
it was tough, man. I mean, I always say some of my biggest setbacks were end up being, Steve Jobs talks about how you can connect the dot going backwards, not forwards, right? And now that I look back, man, oh my God, well, I can connect the dots. Because what I did was, all right, well, I want to belong. I come to a country where I don't have peers, I don't have any friends, I don't speak the language, and it's a basic human need to want to belong to something or somebody, and I don't have a sport, so I'm like, I have to play some kind of sport. I was an athlete all my life, all my life, and I mean from 3 to 11, all I did was play soccer, and so I'm like, okay, well, football, I don't know nothing about American football. Baseball, I never heard of. I'm like, well, I know basketball. I know you have to just put the ball in the hoop, right? I can play that. So I tried out for the 8th grade basketball team, and everybody made the team except me. I was like the only one that was cut, and I remember walking, home in the snow, crying. And my mom said, what's up? And I said, Mom, I hate this country. I don't like it. I don't have the sports. I don't have any friends. Everybody makes fun of me. I want to go home. I want to go back. And she's like, no, that's not an option. You have to try to get better at basketball. So I want you to go to the boys club, practice for 2.5 hours until 5 o'clock. So I'll pick you up and I will go and do your homework and all that so you can try out next year. So that was a routine. And when I went to the boys club, I started playing basketball, started getting a little better. But then I saw these guys walking around like this, those guys, the imaginary lats, right? And I was like, man, these guys look strong, man. I wanna look like them. I want to see what they're doing. So I went to this room and it shocked me. There was a bunch of blue collar, strong guys that worked in the steel mills with their boots and jeans and, throwing insane amount of weight, slapping each other, chewing tobacco, spitting, using chalk and, bringing their boom box in, crazy looking strong guys. And I was a scrawny, awkward body kid. I was like, you know what, I'm going to wait till they leave. And every time they leave, I go work out. And that's what I did every day. I started working out a little bit. And next thing you know, I started developing a little bit of baby muscles. My strength started going up. And next thing you know, my self-esteem shot up.
Baby muscles.
Yeah, it's baby muscles. Yep.
So was that really kind of when your, I guess, passion for fitness, is that where you think that
Absolutely. In that little room with a bunch of rusted weights, a bunch of crazy people working out, I'm like, that's when I was like, man, this is cool. Like, I'm getting stronger. I'm getting more muscle, even though nobody can tell yet. I thought I was getting muscles. I was flexing in the mirror and everybody was like, what are you doing? Look at my muscles. What muscles? And
I think I remember when I was about that 15, 16, kind of looking and, I'm sure there's something happening.
Yes.
If you stare hard enough.
I will literally work out and then pop a vitamin in between sets, thinking a vitamin will go right to where I worked out right now, And that's where I fell in love. Not only how it changed me physically, but how he changed my mental attitude and how he changed my, the way I thought about myself, my self-esteem.
And that was that kind of self-esteem, confidence in yourself and how?
Absolutely. I went from a kid and now I go back to school and people start noticing and they're like, wow, you look good, you get stronger, oh my God. And now I'm lighting up, I'm lighting up. And remember, I just wanted to belong.
Yeah.
And that gave me a sense of belonging at the time.
Yeah. So how did the Sam the entrepreneur start then? Because did you have a father that was entrepreneurial?
Not at all. There's nobody in my family entrepreneurial. Nobody in my family really has done anything entrepreneurship or anything like that. And a lot of them, thought about, they got their degree and they never did anything with it. I guess my uncle was an entrepreneur. Obviously, he had a convenience store in the hood. That's an entrepreneur. But my role was growing up. My mom said, Sam, become a doctor, lawyer, engineer, get a degree, and then you're going to be successful. Her definition of success was a college degree,
right,
a doctorate degree, dressed in a suit and tie every day, and that was her definition of success, and that's what she painted to me all along.
And I guess that's what she wanted for you to I suppose, to be able to do something with your life. I guess, I suppose for most people that is a sign of success, isn't it? Doctor, lawyer.
Absolutely. That's old school, right? So I got my, I went and got my doctorate because my mom always said you have to become a doctor, but that was never really my passion to become a chiropractor and crack people's back. My passion was body transformation. Right. So when I got the degree, I said, all right, here's your degree. My mom, picked it up and showed it off to all her friends. I said, you can go brag that your son is a doctor. Now, can I go and start my own gym? I want to be able to do that. And she goes, will you practice chiropractic too? I'm like, I just said yes, just to make her happy, but I wasn't, I didn't want to. And that's when I first started my business and, started training people, having my company, I have trainers under me. And that's where the journey started.
Right, okay. And so did you, when you say that you wanted to train others, like obviously going to that gym when you're playing basketball, that was about training yourself. When did you feel you actually wanted to sort of help or help other people? Because there's a difference, isn't there?
Well, yeah, there's a big difference, So, naturally when you get in shape, you get a lot of people coming and ask you questions and about how you do this, how do you eat, how you do that, and all that kind of stuff. And I fell in love with, helping people, designing programs for it. As a matter of fact, when I was in college, throughout the whole college career, I was a personal trainer. I was, studying stuff in college. I was coming applying it, reading the magazines, coming applying it, buying the latest supplement, taking them, see what it does for me and all that kind of stuff. And I knew that once I graduate, I wanted to not do that full time.
Right.
I wanted to just, train people full time and become a trainer, help people achieve their ideal physique.
And what was the starting point for that then? Two questions actually. So one, did you have a big vision at that time of having your own gyms or studios? And two, how did you go from sort of, what were your first steps into that?
I didn't have the big vision. I wish I could sit down and tell you, yeah, man, I wanted to become a, international franchise with 110 locations that we have now. I never thought this was what's going to happen. It all, kind of occurred naturally as an evolution of doing good things over time and over time and over time and over time. My ideal was just to have my own business, do what I love to do and, be able to have a, great living for my family. And that's what I started in 2000. I started my company and that's what it flourished.
Right, 2000.
2000, I started my business.
Okay, and what was that? What did that business look like?
So in the beginning, the business was personal training,
right,
inside of LA Fitness here in Chino Hills.
Right.
And at the time, LA Fitness didn't have their own trainers. They subcontracted training to a company. So I subcontracted LA Fitness. The rent was $17,500 a month in that time in 2000. Just the rights for you to have personal training inside, exclusive rights to the personal training.
Did that feel a lot to you? That sounds a lot.
Oh my God, that was $1 million to me back then, But I knew that if I bust my butt, I'll make it. And the issue was that when I started, they wanted the first month's rent up front and a security deposit, which is the same amount, $35,000. But the problem is I only had $20,000. So I borrowed $20,000 from Bank of Mom, so I give them $35,000. That left me for $5,000. So that means that I couldn't afford to have one bad month or I'd have been out of business.
Yeah.
So
so you had it was like what was it, kind of a franchise within their business? Was that it? Like
yes, correct. Right. It was a subcontracting. I was a subcontractor to LA Fitness, and from then, I was literally working 70 hours a week. But I started making some money. I was happy. I was doing what I love to do, working out, training people. I was working 70 hours a week, which to me wasn't work. And I was making, from 2000 to 2008, I was making, 10 to 15 grand a month back then, and I was on top of the world because, nobody in my family ever made that kind of money.
Just from personal training?
Yeah, because I was personal training. I had, 12 trainers that worked under me.
Right.
So, making 10, 15 grand a month to me was like, oh my God, man, I was Puff Daddy in my own head. I was P. Diddy.
Right.
Yeah.
And so where did that lead you then? Did you just continue to build that type of business?
So yeah, I continued to build that type of business and everything. Unfortunately, when I started making money, again, I was never around more successful people. I was just doing stuff on my own. I never got mentorship. I wish I did. I just been into the trenches, getting people in shape, and that got me that far. But nobody ever taught me, or I was never around anybody, or my fault, maybe I should have, got coaches and been around people that would tell me, hey man, economy has its ups and downs. You know what I mean? For example, I bought a home in 2002 for $260. In 2006, it was like $600,000. And I thought I was the magic.
Yeah.
Nobody.
The house had sort of almost tripled in
Almost
value.
triple, and I was like, wait, well, I'm the man, right? I'm the investor, I'm the
Yeah.
man. I can do anything, right? But nobody told me, oh my God, what goes up must come down, right? And then 2008 hit, and oh my God, in 2007, my studio did $2.4 million in gross revenue.
Was that within the LA Fitness? So that's a separate studio?
Yeah, correct.
Right.
No, yeah, that one location,
Right.
$2.4 million.
2.4 million.
$2.4 million out of just one studio, and in 2009, it went down to 400. So it's not like it slowed down, man. It's like somebody just put on an emergency brake and just said, shut it down. A lot of my clients were loan officers in the mortgage business and all that kind of, all canceled. Nobody's credit card was going through. People were crying in my office, literally. People who owed money, they couldn't pay me anymore. So it was a really, really bad time.
Did you build up a lifestyle and an overhead based on that 2.4?
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. And and then next thing you know, I can't pay the house. Next thing you know, I'm having foreclosures. People, creditors calling me, all that kind of stuff. So it all trickled down. Again, my fault, right? My fault. For not, getting mentors. Not my fault. Well, not going out there and talking to financial advisors and all that kind of stuff. My fault for building. I make 2.4 million. I'm building a $2.4 million lifestyle. You know what I mean? So so that was all my fault.
Did you have children, or were you married?
No, even worse. My previous wife was pregnant with our firstborn.
Right.
6 months, and I have no money in the bank. I'm getting foreclosure notices, and now I'm telling myself, oh my God, Sam, you're such a loser because you're gonna be just like your dad that didn't provide for you, wasn't there for you. You're not gonna be able to provide for your family, so you're just a loser. And all this negative self-thought talks and all that kind of stuff.
So what was it like, just to stay on that moment for a while then, so what was it like at that time? Because I suppose you'd built, knowing about your history, you kind of built this persona of success, and he was obviously the guy, with a nice lifestyle and a nice house. What was going through your mind when suddenly it was dropped off and you knew you couldn't meet your bills?
It was humbling. God humbled me. God humbled me very much so. To this day, we talked about it earlier before we got on camera, why I get up 3 o'clock in the morning. Because you know what? I feel like any day, everything can be gone. Even though this house now is paid for, I paid cash for it. I want to make sure I'd never get another foreclosure notice in my house, no matter what. I made myself that pat. I'm like, no matter what, nobody's ever going to say you could get out of your own house. I still have that fear. I still fear. My biggest fear, I told my wife, I told my wife this, I said, my biggest fear is not to be able to provide for my children. That's my biggest fear in life. You know what I mean? And that's what gets me up in the morning, and that's what keeps me up at night.
Yeah. How long did that go from you sort of being worried? I guess it must have felt terrible to be in that position. How long did that go on before you were able to shift your mindset and think, okay, there's nothing I can do about it? What was that process like?
Well, I'm a type of person that when something happens, you might see me down for a day or two, but that's about it.
Really?
I might be down for a day or two. I might just, but you know what? The way I deal with stress is just work and work out. That's the only way I deal with stress. I go take it out on the weights, and I just work and try to figure it out, right? I've never been into drugs or alcohol or any kind of thing, because at the end of the day, the problem's going to still be there. So for me, it's like, let me solve it. And anything anger I have, I just take it out on the weights. Just go in there and just, bust out a bunch of workouts and do, 100 reps with the squats, and all right, I'm done, man. I have no more anger. You know what I mean? So I took it on that, and I really started busting my ass. So from 2008 to 2014, I literally, I think, gosh, man, $80,000 to $100,000 a year. That's all I made. And
did you ever doubt yourself when you'd gone from that, whether you could actually do it again?
Absolutely. I mean, who wouldn't? You kind of all of a sudden your ego is crushed. Your ego is crushed, and you doubt. You're like, what the hell? You know what I mean? And so I went through a period of when I was like, dude, how is this going to happen? What are we going to do? That kind of stuff. And but I'm like, you know what? I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to keep fighting back till something happens. So I literally started working, 24/7 around the clock. Literally, I would come home, get 3 or 4 hours of sleep, get up, work, get up, work, get up,
Were
work.
you back into personal training again?
Yeah, back into it, doing everything. And now we started some small group training. Then we started a small boot camp, to be able to get the prices down for the club. We started evolving. And then in 2014, I started turning things around a little bit, and
what do you think what was the turning point for you? Was it just continuous pushing in a direction you actually broke through, or did something change to make?
Well, we started to be like, okay, well, what can we do so people can afford our services and get the same results and that kind of stuff. So instead of doing one-on-one training, we started small group training. Instead of small group training, then we started group training. So that started doing a little better, and that's how it happened in 2014. And then I got slapped with divorce papers. Just when I was starting to get everything around, I started seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, because I was working so much and we were growing apart because I was so stressed out, and all that. And, all of a sudden one day I come home and there's those the divorce papers. I'm like, oh shit, and I'm like, all right, well, then I left my home, checked into a nearest hotel. And, for 4 months I stayed there. I'm like, maybe something happens, maybe because I don't believe in divorce, even though I was miserable. Because I come from a broken family, I would have never filed, right? So I was so devastated. And again, just like I got cut from the basketball team and I got introduced to weightlifting, that moment, even though it was the most devastating moment of my life, one of the most devastating moments of my life, ended up being the best. Because if she wouldn't have filed for divorce, I wouldn't have been where I am right now financially. And let me tell you why. So I went to, a hotel here right up the road. It's called Chino Hills Hotel because it's like $65 a night. Because I'm not spending $100 a night. I'm staying $65 a night, And, I sat in that hotel room literally crying my eyes out. Now, I don't want to get emotional right now. I literally sat in that hotel room crying my eyes out. And I'm like, you know what? What are you going to do, Sam? You're almost 40 years old, and you just started finally getting things together because you almost lost everything. You just, matter of fact, saved your house. The house was this close to being taken away. I saved it 2 years late on the payment, 2 years late on the mortgage, and I said, all right, and now you're divorced. You're going through a divorce, and now you're not going to see your kids, and your kids mean everything to me. And my kids were 5 and 1. So how much I was broken heart. My heart was just broken. So I said, all right. So what are you gonna do? Are you gonna go start chasing women, go to bars, and and get drunk and do drugs like some of your friends have done in the past when they go through something like this? Is that what you want to do? And attempting that was, I'm like, well, that's not really. I have kids now. Maybe if I didn't have kids, maybe that's what I would have done. You know what I mean? If I didn't have kids, I would have probably went that route. But I'm like, no, you have kids, you have responsibilities. You don't want to be, a deadbeat dad like your own dad. Because my dad was a big drinker and a partier, and from what I hear, I don't remember, I hear there's some substance abuse as well. So it was like, that's what stopped me, right? I said, okay, you have kids and you have responsibilities. So what do you want to do in life? What do you stand for? How you want to spend your time? I said, all right, well, then my number one priority in life is just to be present with my children. So I want to be with my children as much as possible. But I only see them now on Wednesdays, on the weekends, because of the custody, right? So if you don't see your children, then what do you want to do? Is that what you want to go to the bars and drink and, all that kind of stuff? I'm like, no, well, what are you going to do? So you know what? Again, like I told you, when I get stressed, I do 2 things. I work my ass off and I work out. That's the way I deal with stress. If you see me in the gym for 3-4 hours, just know that I'm going through some shit. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm going through some shit, right? So I started working out, and I started just working. I'll be in the hotel room working with the laptop on my chest in the bed, and I would just fall asleep with my laptop so many times on my chest. I would roll over and the laptop would fall, and that's when I started really scaling the business and 10xing the business, and that's when we started really, really growing and taking things to the next level.
Yeah, I know for me, I can have an awful day, and I'll go and have a workout, and suddenly the bad thoughts kind of go away, and I'm, you know, the thought process changes, and it's all positive, and it's like, how can we do that? You know, what was that for you? Was the working out the catalyst to have those positive conversations? Because I guess it's very easy when it's going wrong to have that whole conversation doubting yourself, well, this has happened and I'm never going to get anywhere, and, you know, I'm a loser, and that sort of thing. Did the working out assist with that different chain of thought?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, workout is the best stress reliever in the world. You know, workout is the best anti-anxiety pill, you know, and that, you know, the best antidote to stress. I mean, if I didn't have workout, God knows how many pills I would have been taking, or how many drugs or alcohol, you know, I would have been done. That's how I deal with, you know, with stress. I work out, you know, and you know, I just take my anger and aggression on the weights, and work too. You know, that's how I know. I know I'm productive. That's what I do. Yeah. You know, it's so weird. You know, I don't know why that's always been my, you know, my go-to. You know, it's never been alcohol, never been drugs, never been, you know, whatever. You know, I've never been. You know, I self-destruct in the gym.
And you talk about mentors. When you were going through that, were you reading, listening to anything that was helping you, or did you have a person that was sort of getting you through that, or was it all just work it out yourself?
You know, with my personal life, I've never been a good communicator, and when I look back, I'm like, why haven't I been a good communicator? To this day, I'm not a very good communicator in my personal life, and I'm getting better with my current wife. You know, I'm getting better, and I don't want to say there's a reason. You know, I don't hate when people say this is the reason, this is not. But looking back, why am I not a good communicator? Is one, you know, I never had any siblings. You know, I was the only child, right? Two, you know, I didn't have a dad to communicate with. Three, my mom, I could never really communicate with her because she's very old school Persian lady. She's very set in her ways, and it's always her way. There's only one way, and if I'm going to go with her in any on her opinion, she will give me just her opinion. That's the only way, you know. So she'll never tell you, hey, well, I would do it this way, but here's another option. Here's another option. So every time I went to her opinion, I'm like, well, maybe I shouldn't even just went. Yeah. So that's the reason.
Right. Okay. You know, when you're going through this, and you mentioned that suddenly the business started to take off. When did you kind of suddenly realize that you've got this concept? Was it something that just happened over time and you evolved it, or did you sort of start thinking, right, this is going to be a good business, and this is the sort of way that we need to, or, you know, design it to make it work?
So, I always wanted to differentiate myself, differentiate the business from everything else. You know, the first thing we started doing is, all right, well, what do we want to call it? Okay, what do we want to call it? You know, we know, being in the fitness industry, that a methodology of exercise comes and goes. You know, 1 minute boot camps are hot. 1 minute yoga is hot. 1 minute Pilates is hot. One day, spin is hot. But the thing that stays constant with everybody that want to go to a gym, or just in humans in nature, is the fact that they want to transform. They want to transform physically, mentally, financially, emotionally, spiritually. And so that's why we call it the Camp Transformation Center. Right. And then we started just focusing on transformations. We don't talk about, in sales they tell you, don't talk about the features, talk about the benefits. Right. And we started talking more about the benefits and what we do and our benefits of transformation.
And was that different at the time from what everybody else is doing? Because I guess out here, there's so many fitness centers, from low cost to medium to high to boutique to PT studios.
Nobody does transformations.
They don't. Where did you get that idea from then?
Well, it's funny because, remember I was telling you when I grew up, 11, 12 years old, I went to the gym and started falling in love with lifting. At the time, there was a magazine called Muscle Media 2000. And there was a guy named Bill Phillips. Do you remember Bill Phillips? So there's a guy who was doing transformations at that time. I was infatuated with that. I remember looking at, I was 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years old. I was looking at these things and I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, right? And so when I came up with that, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go back to what I love. And what I love is transformation. This is what I love. This is what I've been studying since I was a little kid. So that's why I'm going to bring the transformation back. So who cares about what kind of exercise they do? At the end of the day, they want to see a transformation. And that's what I'm going to talk about. So I brother actually went and consulted with Bill. I flew out to Colorado, went and consulted with Bill, and Bill told me, hey, Sam, look, let me tell you something. People are motivated by a prize. He goes, I'll never forget, he goes, Sam, I have multimillionaires that don't go get in shape because the doctor said go get in shape, and they won't get in shape because they say how you have high cholesterol, diabetes, high blood pressure, they won't do it for the doctor. But the same multi-millionaire, I say, hey, I'm gonna give you this $10 t-shirt, this cool $10 t-shirt if you get in shape, and they're all about it. He goes, I don't know, it doesn't make sense. He said, it doesn't make sense for me, but that's how you motivate people. And then I came up with a program that I launched that revolutionized the industry called the 6-week challenge.
Right.
The 6-week 20-pound challenge, where you pay ahead of time, but if you lose the 6 week 20 pounds, you do everything we do, you get your money back.
Right. So why do you think not more people are doing that if it's a success?
Oh, they're doing it now.
They are.
It's totally counterintuitive. When I first proposed the idea to my business partners and things like that, everybody laughed at me. They're like, so you mean to tell me, Sam, we're gonna get people in, we're gonna train them, and we're gonna give them their money back? You're out of your fucking mind. They looked at me like, what are you talking about? Have you lost it? I know you've been like not sleeping. I know you get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, but I think your brain needs oxygen. I mean, these are exact words.
Right. So it's like join a gym. If you don't get results, you get your money back. That was essentially
absolutely.
the model,
But the way I told them, I said, look, here's the agreement. You have to show up 5 days a week. You have to follow my meal plan. You have to check in once a week, and you have to give me a right for you before and after picture, and you have to check in every time you come into the gym so I know you're here. Right. In the meantime, they're advertising for us, right? So the first time I run the challenge, nobody wanted to do it. I said, I'm going to do it by myself with my own money. That's what I told them. I said, I'm going to do it myself with my own money. And I did it. And the first one was a disaster, because the first one, I didn't commit a deposit. I just said, I'm going to train you for free. And then, give me your before and after picture. And of course, nobody finished, because there was no skin in the game.
Okay.
So then I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to deal with people who don't want to, this and that. So I'm like, you pay. If you do the work, you get your money back. If you don't do it, then that's on you. And you'll be surprised how many people got results. And then, when the night before the first challenge, I went back, I took 20 people only, and I wrote 20 refund checks for every single person, and I had them ready the next day. Out of the 20 people, 1 or 2 requested a refund. The rest of them were offended that I wanted my money, that I had to give them the money back. They said, well, you kicking me out of the gym, or you don't want me to be in the gym? I'm like, no, that was our deal. Our deal was you lose the weight and I'll give you your money back. They're like, well, I want to go. I don't want to go back to where I was. I would love the program. Can I get a membership? Can I keep continuing? I'm like, sure, of course. I'd love to keep your money, So then they continued. Then I'm like, well, this is a hoax. I got to do another one. Then I did it, and I did it, and I did it, and I did it. I kept getting the same results. Now my business partners are noticing, what the hell? What is going on? What is going on? Now they want in on it.
Right.
And that's when we scaled it.
Right. So just talk about the business then. So how many locations and what's the model today? Because my guess is it evolved from what it was when you first started? So just give, I guess for the podcast, give a bit of context.
Yeah, right. As of right now, I believe we have 113 locations.
Right.
Our model is group training. In a kind of like a high intensity interval training, group training. We focus on transformations. We focus on the community. We focus on the support. Look, we're not doing anything proprietary that you can't see anywhere else. There's no gimmicks. There's no, we do the same push-ups, same burpees, same things. But what we really concentrate on is the community support and the culture of our program. And if you look at what's the most important factor, bar none, when it comes to weight loss for people and people who want to get results, is the support and the community. Right. By far is the number one factor for the people to get in shape.
Right. And have you got a specific demographic? Is it people that are, a little bit overweight that want to get into shape? Is that
very good question? It's funny because we've really literally opened up right next to a CrossFit a couple of times. There's a couple of locations that are right next to a CrossFit, and the people who go to CrossFit will never come to ours, and people that go to us will never go to CrossFit. I remember opening up literally next door to a CrossFit, and the guy was having a fit. Like, he came up to me and he was not so happy. What are you trying to do? Take my business, this and that. I said, hey, bro, let me tell you something. Trust me when I tell you that my people are not going to come to you and your people don't want to come to us. It's totally different. You concentrate on elite performance and doing all that kind of stuff, and we concentrate on weight loss. You know, you want people who want to strive, you know, to get stronger, faster. You know, like I said, we want people who just want to look a little better. You know, and sure enough, we coexisted for years. To this day, we coexist. Yeah. And people, he has his clients, I have my clients, and all that. So our customer avatar is someone who are middle aged, who used to have time to take care of themselves. You know, they used to go to the gym, or you know, they used to look good and all that kind of stuff. Then life happens, right? Life happens. You know, they put themselves in the back burner for a little bit, but we know that little bit also compounds because there's always something with family, children, job, or you know, maybe a significant other in the family was sick or something they had to take care of. They put themselves in the back burner. Next thing you know, time passed by. They look in the mirror like, what the hell happened? I don't feel good. I don't fit in my clothes. You know, I don't have the same, you know, energy and vigor like I used to. I need to get back. I need to get my sexy back. You know, and that's our customer avatar.
Right. How important do you think it is to stick to that customer avatar? Because I guess as you want to grow, it's tempting to say, well, actually now we want to get a few sports performance people and we want to kind of get these people in. What's your experience on that?
I mean, look, every time I go and see a gym, on the outside that says yoga, Pilates, kickboxing, personal training, bodybuilding, weight loss, then I know that gym is about to go out of business. You know, they said that you want to go deep in one vertical. You want to be a specialist, not a generalist. You know, everyone knows. I mean, let me give you an example. Let's just say, you know, you have some heart issues right now. I hope not, never. But let's just say, you know, as an example, you have a heart issue. You want to get your heart checked out. Do you want to go to a doctor who is a cardiologist, an ENT, an orthopedist, and a podiatrist, or do you want a guy who just works on heart? Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's very important for you to be the best at one thing. You don't need to be, you know, there's no way you can be the best at everything. You just have to be best at one thing and go all in on one thing. And we went all in for just body transformation and weight loss.
Right. Okay.
If somebody comes in, well, I want to put on muscle, I want to compete, I can't help you. I just can't. That's not what we're equipped to do. You know what I mean? Oh, you know, I want to get faster. That's not what we do either. Hey, I want my kid to, you know, try out for this, and I want to do that. We don't do that either. I can refer you to someone. And in business, you have to understand that you have to be able to say, look, I'm not equipped to do that. You know, not all good money is, not all deals are good deals.
Right. And what are some of the things that you've done from when you started to kind of where you are now to make that process more effective, whether that's from bringing people in or keeping people?
You know, everything evolves, right? Everything evolves. You do things and you're like, well, what can I do better? Well, you know, how can I improve the processes? And we're constantly always improving the process. Like, for example, you know, we call it the 6-week challenge Bible, right? And over the time, we evolved it. Every time we do a 6 week, we evolve it, we modify it, make it better. You know, we added like, you know, more people on the, you know, supporting the Facebook groups to be able to support people 24/7 and be able to provide better support and all that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. And so, do you run any now yourself, or do you just?
No, we actually, you know, we're in the trenches. So we own and operate 10 ourselves.
Okay.
You know, and I firmly believe, you know, that if a franchise doesn't have their own corporate stores, then you shouldn't buy into it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know, you can't sell a franchise if the owner doesn't own any.
Right.
Obviously, if it's really good and it's really making money, then the owner wants to have some of his own, right? So we do have 10 of our own.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And are you primarily based in California?
We're mostly in California, but we're also in Arizona, we're also in Florida, we're also in Texas, and we're also in Minnesota and other parts of the country spread out. But since we started here, you know, most of our locations is in Southern California.
Right.
And Northern California.
What do you think is the potential for the type of business? You know, what's your ambition with the model?
Well, my immediate goal is to have 500 locations. You know, my immediate goal is in 500 locations within the next 3 years. You know, and after that, you know, I want to reassess and see where we can go after that.
And what do you think are some of the challenges that you've got to scale that big? Is it training people? Because I guess, you know, when you're fairly small, it's quite easy to keep control over the quality of the product that you're delivering. How do you do that when you scale?
Well, the biggest challenge is personnel, always. Is for you to dictate the culture, dictate the work ethic, dictate the vision, and make sure everybody is as passionate about it as you are. And that's been always going to be the biggest thing, moving forward and scaling the company. The biggest thing when it comes to scaling a company, you have to ask yourself one question. And the question is, how can I get big but still remain small? The reason people do business with a lot of the local businesses because they remain small. Everybody knows everybody, and there's that local feel to it, right? Unfortunately, when the business gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, now it's more corporate, and now there's more official, and now it's not as warm and cozy, right? So how can you keep that culture, that warm and cozy feeling of a local mom and pop shop, while you still having corporate structure? Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's what you want to do. You want the people to feel just they're another number. You want people to say, oh wow, I'm client number 2,478. No, you're not client 2,000. You're Sam Bakhtiar, and your daughter's name is Bailey and Haley, and you live here, and we love you, and you've been a client since this time, and here's our history together.
Right.
And
with having so many locations now, what's the sort of vehicle for you getting that message to a lot of the owner operators that are, I guess, following your formula? Do you get everybody together and have events, or do you have
we have events a couple of times a year. I send a daily email out, or at least 4 times a week I send an email out, and we constantly talk about our vision and what we want to do. We all about results and experience at the camp. As I always tell people, you want results and experience. We have to deliver some kind of results. And after that, it's all about how you make people feel. I was talking earlier today about it to some franchisees, and I said, you know what? It's all about how you make people feel these days. That's your competitive advantage. Matter of fact, I just posted about it. Your business needs to be relational, not transactional. And a relational business builds what I call customer loyalty. And you have to understand the difference between customer satisfaction and customer loyalty. And they're like, well, what's the difference? I asked them this, I'm like, hey, let me ask you a question. Do you want your wife to be satisfied, or do you want your wife to be loyal? And they're like, well, of course, loyal. Let me tell you the difference. A satisfied customer is satisfied until something better or cheaper comes along. A loyal customer doesn't care what comes along. Don't care what the price point of somebody else is. Don't care what other whiz-bang gadgets somebody else have. They're loyal to you, and they want to do business with you no matter what comes along.
Yeah, and is that same philosophy then for your franchises? Because I guess there you've got 2 customers, haven't you? You've got the people who come into your locations, and then you have your other franchisees. Yep. Would you say that's a similar philosophy?
Yes.
In terms of how you approach them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You have to. You have to. In this day and age, that's the competitive advantage. That's what you want.
And is it difficult to find people that, because I guess your reputation is based on these guys and girls succeeding. Yeah. Is it difficult picking the right people?
I think in the beginning, we were growing too fast, and maybe we didn't do our due diligence, and we thought, oh, well, we're just happy growing fast and all that kind of stuff. But now we're a lot more pickier. We sit down, we talk to them and let them know what we expect of them, what they can expect of us. And, we have no problem rejecting people if we don't feel like they're the right fit, just because somebody has a check in their hand. We don't want them to damage our brand.
Yeah. And I know they sort of say, what is it, like something like fire quickly and hire slow, fire fast. Is that the approach with franchisees? And if you know something's not working, do you also move people on?
Absolutely, 100%, 100%. The sooner you cut out something, the less risk of something bigger later.
Right.
I always say cut the cancer right away.
Okay. What do you think, if we talk about the industry for a moment, then what do you see the future of the industry, if you look at it as a whole, where you're positioned, do you think things are likely to change? Do you think there's new trends that are likely to come in that will affect it? What's your views on where it's going?
I mean, you look right now with the trends, right? The trends right now is like the Peloton. I think that's going to be a new thing coming on. But I also think that they can only go so far because you still need the human interaction there. A virtual trainer is not going to be able to do, a regular trainer hold you accountable like a regular trainer. There's only so much you can do virtually, right? I believe that high intensity interval training still has a long way to go. Group training classes are that, but also right now is going to be some market adjustment in the industry. What I mean by market adjustment is the strong will survive, and people who are pretenders and bullshitters and like that will die. You know what I mean? So right now we need to have more people who actually know what they're talking about, not bullshitting people in the industry and all that. Does that, am I making sense? Do you know where I'm going with it?
Yeah. So I'll kind of put it in my own mind, but so I guess would you say it's more about kind of genuinely delivering results, to the people, as opposed to kind of being fairly superficial and not delivering a lot of value?
It's all about value and building relationships. That's all it is. It's all it is. And in the fitness industry, unfortunately, we have a lot of those people who talk but don't deliver the value. I have my COO just went and got training somewhere, one-on-one training, and the trainer was never showing up. And when she approached her, she approached him, says, "Hey, what's going on?" He goes, "Well, it's not my fault that you pick a time that's traffic." Those trainers are going to be gone. You know what I mean? There, in the world right now, there's literally 500 people willing to take your customers, within a 2-mile radius. So you better be on your game. You better build a relationship. You better have a unique selling proposition. You better have something unique, to be able to sustain.
Right. And what are you doing to keep yourself on top of the game? Because I guess now at this stage, looking at your house and knowing the cars that you've got in your garage, you probably don't need to be doing quite as much as what you used to. So what's your plans for the future, and why do you want to still keep getting up at 3 o'clock to do this stuff when you probably could take it a bit easier?
I don't know about you, but I'm never really motivated by material things. Don't get me wrong, I like nice stuff just like anybody else. If I lived in this mansion, but I wasn't getting any better and I wasn't progressing, I would be depressed. I'd rather live in a little shack and know that I'm getting better and there's hope. When there's no progress, there's no hope. And when there's no hope, you die. You know what I mean? So for me, it's not about, oh my God, I have everything that I want. I got, houses and cars and money, and I want to improve. And that's always been my motto, improving 1% every day, 1% nutrition, being at the top of your game, not just, getting here and just, well, I'm done. What kind of example am I setting my children if I did that?
Yeah. You've created an amazing business under, I guess, difficult circumstances to a lot of people that have probably been brought up with a lot more things, from this country. But it's what you've done is very difficult, even if you are sort of, partly financed and you've got a good family and you're born in a good country. It's still very, very difficult if you're working for someone to make that change. What advice would you give to someone that is, maybe they're working as a trainer and they, being where you are is very appealing to them? How do they break that down and sort of put a plan together to get to where they want to do? What would some of your advice, and what are those initial steps that they should think about doing?
Well, first and foremost, if you want to do, you have to have a big dream, a vision, where you want to go, and then you surround yourself with people who are already there doing what you want to do. But I guess the biggest advice I have, and I see what's going on in the fitness industry, a lot of the trainers, they don't know how to manage their money. A lot of the trainers, they go, say a client right now comes in and pays me $1,500 for 3 months. They think they made $1,500 a day. That's what it used to be me. Oh, I made $1,500 a day. No, you didn't. You have to service this client for 3 months, right? So, staying on a budget, living below their means, stacking their money, so that when the opportunity comes, they can actually pull the trigger. Where a lot of times people are living paycheck to paycheck or client to client, where they go blow money on the latest Jordans or the latest iPhone, and now when the opportunity comes, they don't have it.
Right. Okay. And there's another thing I read that one of your sort of statements is about, and I'd like you to explain it, just about having a plan and not letting emotion sort of sidetrack you. Could you kind of expand on that a little bit?
Well, once you put a plan in place, then let's say your goal is to do something by end of 2019. Then what do you have to do? Then you have to do, what do I need to do every single day to get to that goal? How do I measure it? What do I need to do? And once you put that plan to play, it's a non-negotiable. It's absolutely a non-negotiable. Hey, if I do X, Y, and Z for the next 365 days, here's what I'll get. Then do it and don't negotiate with yourself. Don't negotiate with who said it? I think Jocko said, your inner bitch. You know what I mean? Don't give into that, right? So, a lot of people get a shiny object syndrome.
And what's that?
Shiny object syndrome. So they have a plan. Then all of a sudden something comes in front of them. Oh my God, let me go do this. I'm going to do this. So for example, they have a plan to save $20,000 by the end of this year. But next, oh my God, did you see the iPhone 72 is coming out? Oh, let me go get that, even though they don't need it. Or let me go get another pair of shoes, like the 25 pair of shoes I have. It's not enough, right? Or same thing with a diet. Oh, I want to diet. I need to lose weight until the nacho comes in front of them. They get shiny object syndrome. They don't stay focused. And if you stay focused enough times and just keep compounding things that are going to get you there, they're going to get you there faster. You just have to go through some pain to be able to get it. You have to delay gratification, which, by the way, is the number one rule of success, in my opinion, is for you to be able to delay gratification, give up something now for something much greater later.
Yeah, and it sounds like if you look at your recipe for the business, which is, right, that's my model, and I'm going to stick to it. And in your life, you seem to have a goal and you stick to it. And as straightforward as that sounds, particularly when you relate it to your diet, I guess most of us, it's like, okay, I want to lose weight, but then, maybe I'll just have a bit of chocolate or whatever. I guess there's this, you call it inner bitch or whatever it is, but there's probably this other voice in you that's tempting you, whether it's an emotional reaction or another voice that's tempting you to probably do something that you don't want. And it sounds like you're very disciplined. It's like, I'm gonna stick to the plan no matter what.
Well, let me tell you a quick story and what I learned in life. Let me give you my life experience. I've learned that the biggest person in the world that you don't want to disappoint is yourself. Because every time you tell yourself you're going to do something and you don't do it, that wreaks a havoc on your self-esteem.
Okay.
So every time you tell yourself, hey, here's what I'm going to do, and you go against what you set out to do, you're basically telling yourself that you can't stick to something, that you're a loser, right? And these compound over time. And if they compound over time, your self-esteem is just going to go to the dumps. Let me tell you a quick story. I was getting ready for Mr. Pittsburgh Bodybuilding Championship. I was at my senior year in college. And I was taking 18 units at Penn State, which is no joke. I was working 30 hours a week as a personal trainer. And I was working another 15 hours a week as a bouncer. And I was prepping my food and going to my grocery shopping and studying and doing everything else that you're supposed to do when you're in school. And I was, bodybuilding. Comes about 2-3 weeks before the Mr. Pittsburgh Bodybuilding Championship. I lost it. My willpower, I didn't have any more willpower. My willpower was gone. I used it all. I lost it that night. I went on a binge spree that night. I went and got some burritos, some pizza, some donuts, some ice cream, and I ate all this food. And I went to bed, and I got up next morning literally crying. Like, I was crying because I'm like, you're such an idiot, Sam. You're 2 weeks before your biggest, show to date. You can't even stick to your diet. You're an idiot. You're not cut out for bodybuilding. You might as well just quit. Get out, man. Don't even go to the gym. So I literally dropped out of Pittsburgh Bodybuilding Championship 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks before it. And for the next 2 or 3 weeks, all I ate was junk. I went to like a little funk. I'm like, I'm just going to I'm not even going to do it. Obviously, I can't stick to my diet. I'm not made up for this, right? So after eating 2 to 3 weeks of junk, I went as a spectator to the show. So I spent as a spectator, and do you know that all I needed to do, even after eating 2 weeks of junk, is just put some spray tan on. I would have won. I would have won my class. So then at that time, I realized that the only person that beat me was me.
Right.
And it was all those inner thoughts, that negative thoughts that I told myself that. And later on, I read a book, as a matter of fact, it's on my shelf right there. It's called What to Say to Yourself When You're Talking to Yourself.
Right.
And that book forever changed my life. That book forever changed my life. And I want to make sure that now, every time I tell myself I'm going to do something, I'm going to fucking follow through. And a lot of people think I'm insane. Like if I tell myself that I'm going to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, or I'm going to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, be up for all next week. If I go to bed at midnight, I'll still get up at 3 and go to 4 because I told myself I'm going to do this. Right. Now, they might be dead by the middle of the day, but I'm going to find a way. I just will not disappoint myself. Right. And that was the basis of my discipline. And for those people who are lacking discipline, all I want you to do is put smaller goals and build your self-confidence up. And just understand that every time that you tell yourself something and you achieve it, you build self-confidence. Every time that you tell yourself something and you don't do it, you destroy your self-confidence.
Like a muscle, I guess.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. And what do you do? Is there any sort of training you do on a daily basis to kind of get, strengthen your mind like you do a workout? Is it reading, or is it just kind of reminding yourself that that's what's important? Because it sounds like it's such an important success trait, whether you're in a relationship, whether you're trying to lose weight, whether it's in your business. It sounds like that's one of the things that we all don't do well. And if you can stick to that, it's probably a good thing.
Well, the way I put a schedule together every day. And I try to, I know it sounds robotic, but I try to have everything done same time, same place every day. For example, my workout, I get up at 3, have a little routine. I'm a little robot. Come in and I have it done, and I go to the gym. I come back, I take a shower at this time, you do this. I'm in the office from this time to this time. And my haircut is the same time every week. You know what I mean? My car wash guy is the same time every week. So this way you take care of everything in your life without having to think about it. There's no decision fatigue.
Right.
What time this week am I doing this? No, it's not what time this week, it's all the time. My wife makes fun of me, because, I go to like Target maybe once a year. Because when I go, I buy like 12 shampoos, 12 toothpaste, 12 mouthwashes. Because last thing I want to fucking do is go back to Target, every other week. That's not what I want to do, right? I have it, and there's no decision fatigue. I'm straight. I can focus on what I need to do. Because as far as I'm concerned, my top priority is what? Spend time with my children and provide for my children. Target, hanging out at Target is not one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So it's really kind of understanding, like you say, your children is your main priority. You've got the discipline to make your plans and decisions and stick to them. And I guess, taking away that decision-making process through your day. So, you've got these certain regular habits that you're going to do, I suppose, to make it easy to stick to those decisions that you make.
Well, what is the most precious commodity is time, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if I'm wasting time somewhere, where am I taking it away from?
Yeah, your children, yeah.
Right? If I'm wasting time, so I want to be as efficient as possible. I'm very efficient with my time. I mean, for me, it's all about efficiency. It's all about saving time. If I can squeeze an extra 2 hours a day, my God, look at how much productive I can be.
Yeah.
And I do that. People are like, what the hell? How can you get so much done? Because there's a method of madness to what I do. Yeah.
So just before, I've got 2 questions, but before that, just if you could let people know where they can find out. I know you've got a book, you've got a business, and you've got a supplement company. Just where can they get to you? What are the different ways?
Yeah, well, my franchise company is thecamptc.com, and that's our franchise company. Myself is Sam Bakhtiar at Instagram, at Sam Bakhtiar, and my nutritional company, my supplement company is 1%nutrition.com.
Right, and your book is that
Becoming a 1%er. It's on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So what is it? What would you, outside of business then? What is it that you would like to be known for, remembered for? What's your bigger goal outside of your children?
Okay, outside of my children. I see you
Yeah.
caught me. I was going to go right to
I
my
know
children.
that.
Yeah, you knew that, right? Yeah. Honestly, I want to inspire people. I never thought in a million years, I never thought I could have a house like this. Not in a million years did I think that I could have my dreams car in the garage. Not in a million years have I ever thought, coming to America, this is what I want to end up with. Because we struggled, man. We struggled. Food stamps, low income housing, you name it, we were there. And if I can inspire people to change, inspire people to better their lives, that's what I want to known for. At this time, at this point, I always tell people, when your basic necessities aren't met, you are in a fight or flight mode. When your kids are hungry and you have, eviction notice in your door, and you have creditors calling you, it's hard to think about fulfillment. You're like, what do you mean fulfillment? What do you mean I'm giving? I'm barely eating. My kids, I'm going to protect my kids. You're in a fight or flight mode. But once those are met, and I'm blessed those are met for me today, I can now concentrate on what makes my heart happy. What can I do to have an impact? What can I do to have more people show up at my funeral? You know what I mean? That's the kind of thing that I think about, the fulfillment. One of my favorite quotes is Tony Robbins. He says, "Success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure." And I don't want to ultimately fail. I don't want to be one of those guys who have been successful but never really made any impact in anyone's life or anyone else's, because that's an empty place to be.
Yeah, it's a nice vision. Final question. Escape Your Limits is about escaping what you have believed yourself is impossible. And you've covered a lot of things here, but what would be one of your memorable examples of where you've escaped your own personal limits?
Gosh, oh man. Many different ways. You know what I mean? I remember, I'm going to share this with you. It's a financial goal I had. Do you want me to tell you the number or
Go on, yeah.
You want me to tell you the number? Okay.
Yeah, just to kind of give us
Okay.
some idea.
So forever, I thought if somebody made $100,000 a month, like what else would there be, right? What else would there be? You make $100,000 a month. I'm like, oh my God, like, what the hell, right? And just how your context changes, right? So forever I was like this. I'm like, man, if one day I can make $100,000 a month, oh my God, like, this is it. This is the, I don't know. So I was always chasing that to see if there's a possibility, my own inner limit. And I remember, the day that I exceeded that, I went over 100,000.
And that's not like your business. That's
my personal income. Yeah. I remember I did that, and I literally pulled to the side of the road. And I remember sharing that with a bunch of my close friends, and that's my ultimate goal, right? Of $100,000 a month on a personal income. And I literally called everybody on the side of the road. I mean, out in the middle of the freeway, I pulled over, flashers on and everything. I'm like, man, you remember I told you about the goal? Remember I told you I'd go? Remember I told you about the goal? Told you about the goal? So that was a huge thing for me, and I did it. And it's weird how things change, I don't know if Chris Rock, in one of his comedy skits, I don't know if you've ever seen him, Chris Rock talked about money as a context. There's a difference between being rich and being wealthy. He said, oh my God, like Oprah, she's very rich, but if Bill Gates opened up his bank account and saw Oprah's money and he thought that was his money, he would just kill himself. You know what I mean? And that's how everything changes over time. And so that was one of the biggest things I was like, I never thought I'd get. This house is something I never thought I'd get. Having, a couple of exotic cars was never thought I was going to get, because I was the only one in the parking lot scheming at these things, And of course, right now, obviously my children, like I said, that's the obvious. That to me, more than anything else, when I see my children proud, they look at their daddy, and one day, I heard my little girl say, "Daddy, I want this. Can you afford that?" And my oldest one, told her, "Of course, Dad can afford that. Duh." Like, look at her like, "What are you doing?" And then I said, "Oh, so you think I can afford that?" He goes, "Yeah, Daddy. You're a strong rich guy." And I just see her like light up, like like she's so proud of me. because to be able to provide for her and be the provider, because I never had that. I never had that a father that could provide for me, I can be proud of, you know, and that to me is fulfillment.
And it sounds like it's not about the sort of money itself. It's to you, it's almost like what that money allows you to do for your family.
I'm gonna share something with you. I can live in a room that's this big, as big as this office, with a computer, some books. I can live in this room and be totally happy. I can be totally happy. This room, you can give me an old Volkswagen, you know, make sure it's 5-speed, you know, so I can have some fun with it. I'm happy. For me personally, these things were just the fact that, hey, can I get there? But I'm very simple. I want to leave a legacy. I want to set the standard for my children. I want to be able to show them what's possible, what their daddy do, what, you know, coming from nothing to that. I want to take them back to my old town and show them where daddy grew up and what I went through. And I want them to be able to inspire them and inspire the younger generation.
Yeah, well, you've certainly done that. Sam,
thank you.
It's a wonderful story, and there's some great lessons in there. Simple, but extremely powerful if you can do them right. And I love the one about the sort of, you know, the inner bitch. I think if there's one takeaway, that's probably one to start working on. So Sam, thank you so much for your time.
Of course, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, then please go over to iTunes and subscribe to the Escape Your Limits podcast. Leave a review, leave a comment. It really would help us a lot to continue to keep these going.